Oh, hi everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Cricket Draft Insight. Obviously, we're immersed in the county championship at the moment. Things going slightly better for me at the time of recording, tinged with a little bit of regret. But obviously, T20 Blast sort of details, values and everything are getting released at the moment. So just thought I'd look ahead to the T20 Blast and provide you with my sort of provisional men's and women's squads. Starting with the men, so the batters I've got lined up, I say batters, primarily wicket keepers. Aneirin Donald, I love Aneirin Donald. I think he's captain this year, so maybe captain, keeper and opener for Derbyshire. And one of those, it's always nice, you know, people obviously knew about Aneirin Donald, but he had all those injury problems. But I like to think I was kind of picking him before he was tearing it up. And then obviously he's gone on and done really well. Hopefully he can back it up this year. Now, I've had Michael Pepper in my county championship squad, and with the fixtures, I've moved on and I can't get him back in. But I still like Michael Pepper. Hopefully the form will turn around come the T20 Blast. Should be at the top of the order, which is obviously something really important to talk about because, you know, Tristan Stubbs is a player I'm really intrigued in. This initial squad is primarily sort of England, not quite England players, you know, which I really like to go for. Those players that I think sort of merit maybe England recognition, but haven't quite got it. But there's one or two international players in my reckoning. But Stubbs, of course, has a history of batting 5 or 6. And I wondered if he might be 3 or 4, because obviously there's an argument you maybe just pick openers. But I'll maybe talk about Tristan Stubbs in another video. But Donald and Pepper, and then also Joe Cracknell, whose record might not look amazing, but he started to come good last year after some really encouraging second 11 performances. You know, one of those had to battle his way in. He's been in really good form, scoring quick runs for Middlesex down the order. And probably quite conceivable he opens in the T20 Blast. And then the other one is Toby Albert, who's got himself back in the county championship side. He played and kept wicket in the Hong Kong Sixes. So if I have Pepper, like there are others, but they're the ones at the moment. Pepper, Donald, Cracknell and Albert. And obviously I could put, like if they say double, triple game weeks, whichever one is in theory keeping wicket, can put them in the wicket keeper position, obviously. Try and get the most points. But they should all play. A sort of variety of value there. Albert and Cracknell probably a bit cheaper, along with Pepper and Donald, who probably be a bit more expensive. But that's who I've got lined up in sort of batter, wicket keeper roles. All-rounders. So, Safe Save, good to see him back in the runs in the county championship. And I think hopefully bowls a bit more. He didn't seem to bowl that much in the T20 Blast last year. I always liked slow left-armers in T20. But then I think it was like finals day or the final, he did take a few wickets. And I probably need a bit of spin because I'm a little pace bowling orientated. It does tend to be bowlers where I struggle a bit in T20. We'll come to that, but I've got a Safe Save and Ben Kellaway back playing for Glamorgan. He got a duck. I don't even know if he's fit to bowl, but hopefully a couple of weeks down the line. Just made quite a few starts. I think he batted at 3 last year. Hopefully he can go on and go sort of crazy in the same way that Ethan Brooks did a bit last year, where he did score a couple of, I think there was a game week where he scored a couple of 50s, you know, like 200%, and typically I didn't have him in my team. Moved on from him in the county championship. I think I've got him back on my bench next week. Safe Save, Ben Kellaway, sort of spin bowling all-rounders. Ethan Brooks, who else have I got? Right, so someone who hasn't actually been in my team so much in recent times, but I have had it in the T20 Blast, and I posted about him, and he was sensational yesterday, is Ben Green. I did see a stat, that's why it sort of piqued my interest as well, about his, at one point he had like the best strike rate in the world in like the last 2 years or something. So he takes a wicket every 13 balls. I've mentioned 92 wickets in the last 4 seasons. Obviously, he's gone to a different team. But I think he should still do well. He should be very prominent for Leicestershire. It's interesting looking at some of these announcements, you know, squad reveals, price reveals. You look at a lot of the players, and I'm looking at some of these red ball players, and I'm like, where's the T20 team coming from? Obviously, there's some standout T20 players, but then, you know, 1 or 2 sort of maybe perceived to be red ball dark horses. Martin Anderson's an interesting one. Done very well for Derbyshire, scored quickly. I remember him opening at Middlesex, having a really good innings. And then after one more innings, they just like binned the idea of him opening. And obviously went to Derbyshire and he's had some very destructive middle order innings. Does he bowl as much? I'm not sure, but he'd probably be a good one. And I'd imagine quite popular, because he'd become in a very popular selection in the county championship. But anyway, that's me talking about a player who's going to do really well, who isn't going to be in my team. Moving on. I've spoken about batters and that's all wicket keepers. So let's just move on to bowlers. This is where it gets a little bit iffy. So I put Tom Aspinwall, but I'm not sure if he's fully fit. Another one who played in the Hong Kong Sixes / Mitchell Stanley, who started to come to attention. But the likelihood of him playing every game, I'm not convinced. I then got Tom Helm, who is for some reason a slight weird sort of... he's not even in the county championship team. I thought he did all right. He does do well at times in white ball. He is a good bowler. But then if they pick Morgan or Sharma, like there's competition there in their T20 side. But I still think he can take wickets, and he's probably in that sort of mid-range price bracket. And I just kind of want to see do well. He's been in a few England squads and didn't get to play. You know, you get that close, it's a bit frustrating, isn't it? And then the other one is Josh Shaw. Now, there's a tinge of worry because he's gone to Somerset and they haven't been picking him. But I assume he was more picked for white ball. I just hope they're not going to muck him around. He has been phenomenal the last 2 years. There was a game, was it last season? Took 3 wicket hauls, 3 games in a row. T20 done really well the last few years. So I hope he's going to play regularly. And again, he just wouldn't be too expensive. So Tom Aspinwall, Tom Helm and Josh Shaw. But then just with the price reveals and such like that have come out today, I just remembered Tom Rogers, who I actually went off slightly. Was it last year? He was quite expensive. And then he was injured most of the Big Bash. But he's still quite useful. So he might come into the equation. And obviously, game weeks, if there's double game weeks, I'm just looking at my notes. Liam Scott is one I would like. But then, if I leave any of those other guys out and they do well, it's going to annoy me. And then I've just got some other names floating about. Actually, if I did want another spinner, Tazim Ali. Surely about time he gets an opportunity for Warwickshire. He's only 19, but, feels like you've been around a while. Leg spinner, can do really well. And then I've just got people, Tom Norton and Callum Nichols at Glamorgan. If they could come into the equation, done really well in second 11. If Sam Seacharan gets another chance, in terms of a sub and somebody just breaking through, who've I've written there? Luke Benkenstein. And as much as I like to be different, Caleb Faulkner probably comes in. Although I think he's listed as an all-rounder. And I'm not sure that he'll bowl that much, really. But you never know, actually. He could get an over and then break through. But that's my sort of provisional squad for the men's T20 Blast. Cracknell, Pepper, Albert, Donald, and then I'll put one of them in the wicketkeeper spot. Zabe, Kellaway, Ethan Brooks, Ben Green, and then, like I said, I certainly threw Luke Benkenstein in the mix there. We'll see maybe how the fixtures go. And Iron Donald, who I probably will captain. He's wicketkeeper, pro and con of that, of course. You could talk about all-rounders, which is what I normally do in other formats, but Donald can be so destructive. I think batters are the ones that tend to tear it up in T20. And then obviously your safety net is if they get a duck, they in theory take some catches, even it out. And then Tom Aspinwall, Tom Helm, Josh Shaw. I love somebody like Jaffa Chauhan. It's quite expensive in a way. Dan Moriarty, as much as I love my left-arm spinners, but just even Chauhan got left out a couple of times. Moriarty maybe don't play every game, so you got to try and have players who are going to play at the risk of stating the obvious. And I mentioned Luke Benkenstein, Tazim Ali. Ben Cliff is even one who could get a go for Yorkshire. But that's my thoughts on my men's squad for the T20 Blast. Moving on to the women. Okay, let's get straight into it. So Maya Bouchier. So she's not around the England reckoning, is she? She got omitted. So semi-fairly got dropped and then did really well. And I think briefly did come back in. But obviously Dunkley, I know, has done really well. And I think she's on the outer at the moment, isn't she? So she, in theory, will be playing regularly. And then I absolutely love Paige Schofield because actually, about a few years ago, when I finished 14th in the Charlotte Edwards Cup, I picked Paige Schofield and she scored 4 half-centuries at more than a run a ball. Just became one of my favourite players. And then she was playing for Perth Scorchers in the winter. And I really like Perth Scorchers. And she does play some just really attractive shots. But it's quite frustrating because she bats down the order and just gets left not out a bit. Well, this year, in the 50 overs, she's been batting at 3 her opener. So hopefully she goes up top. can do really well in the T20 Blast. And then I've got Marie Kelly, who did score some runs the other day. She's one I've had just in my squads previously. Cordelia Griffiths is another one, just one I've had sometimes. Maybe not too expensive, and well, she scored some runs the other day. Now, some of these players, their T20 records aren't quite as good as their 50 over, but I just feel like historically, you're going out attacking. What I've seen of women's cricket, like a few years ago when Paige Schofield scored a load of runs, a lot of players just weren't scoring quickly. Like, she stood out. But the game has evolved. Players have caught up. More players are scoring quickly. So I do think some of them will translate their 50 over cricket to their T20 cricket, and the standard go up and them score more runs. Moving on to all-rounders, as much as I love Paige Schofield, this person is probably the first name on my team sheet. There is one thing I've learnt playing cricket draft over the years. Captain Catherine Bryce. She's going to bat a 3. She's going to bowl 4 overs. She's going to do well. I was going to say something else. It completely gone from my mind. Oh, that was it. So last year, it seemed like Hampshire had a few game weeks where they played more. Like, say they played 3 games and the Blaze only played twice. So a captain like Charlie Knott or Georgia Adams just would have been better captain than Catherine Price. Like, even if she played less, she's just involved. It's probably what I talk about in the men's game. If I've always said, and I'll probably be saying it again this season, that I should be more mainstream. I should put Will Jacks, David Willey, maybe Sam Curran goes up. People bat opener 3, bowl 4 overs. And I pick these middle order, bowl 2 over players. But they're the players I like, okay? As much as a joke, I get frustrated for not doing well. The other players I like. Just Catherine Price, just what a player. I then got Sophia Smale, who, again, as I've said in cricket draft, maybe you just pick a player, right? And they score you some points. And that's why you like them. And then maybe someone you just happen to see on the telly. And I did see Sophia Smale on the telly a few years ago in the competition we won't mention. Obviously, got her aggressive celebration. Now, she actually, she was batting quite well last year, and she didn't really translate anything to the T20 Blast. But she's been a bit up the order recently. She's left-arm spinner. I just like her. She's just one of those that I just like. I've got to pick her. One of my favourite players. If I don't pick her, I'm going to get annoyed. And then I have written Charlie Knott, who I think has signed for somebody. I was watching the Big Bash in the winter, the highlights, and she was awful. Batting up top, but she's a popular one. And hopefully she comes in and does well, unless I'm being an idiot and she's not here. I think she signed for someone. I think it's a different team. I might be wrong. And I then got Darcy Carter written down. Not sure if she's a batter or an all-rounder, which actually could have written Paige Schofield. But I've got, because there was somebody else I had who I think is a batter who I'll come to. So I'll have to read, jig it however. Darcy Carter had a phenomenal spell for Scotland, scoring just like 50 after 50, and does bowl a bit, I think. So she's in the mix. The other one I'll just mention then is Naomi Datani, who was listed as a batter previously. And I'm not sure if she was injured last year, because I don't think she played in the end. But she has been playing recently, and she does bowl. So I don't know if she'll be a batter or an all-rounder, but she's in the equation. Right, I've then written Abby Freeborn as wicket-keeper, but there was some Australian, slightly unheralded Australian, not an international, who crossed my mind. I'm not sure if it plays for the same team, and I just haven't written it down. I can't remember who it was. But they piqued my attention. Maybe just somebody I caught a glimpse of in the Big Bash highlights in the winter. Right, bowling, I then got Katie Levick, who did take some wickets yesterday, I think. Now, she is one who, when I first sort of started playing women's games on Cricket Draft, she just had these amazing numbers. And I was like, why has she never played for England? And then I feel like she hasn't quite been at that level last year or two. But then she took a load of wickets yesterday. Yeah, she's at Durham. I have to pick her. Grace Ballinger is one I normally have. Left arm. Like a few of these players I'm going to mention, there's a few bowlers here who scored runs sort of over the weekend in the 50 over. Grace Ballinger don't go for many runs. I think she got injured once when I had the last... Like she bowled one ball or something and went off injured. But I just want just a kind of... I always pick her. She ain't going to go for many runs, that's for sure. And then Katie Kopak. Now, I think Esme McGregor did well as well last year. Kopak scored some runs, took some wickets. Again, yesterday. So, encouraging signs, because I'm following the 50 overs he was playing, so he was in form. Lucy Hyam as a random one. Now, Grace Thompson, so that's maybe 11. Grace Thompson is an interesting one. I've watched her bowl. She looks high quality to me. She looks like, as much as I always talk about players meriting it, obviously you have players who just perform and you think merit international recognition. And then you have players who've sort of been groomed to be international players, right? Now, I think Grace Thompson was in the England A squad. I don't know if she spent the time, throughout youth level playing for England or what. But she just looks, you look for attributes. She just bowls around about off stump, moves the ball a bit, moves it away. I'm not saying she's the same as Lauren Bell, but Lauren Bell is obviously the standout opening bowler. Grace Thompson looks like she's got something to me. Style. Yesterday she bowled 2 overs expensive. Really annoys me. She's young lass, bowls 2 overs, she doesn't get back on. Bring her back on, get a couple of cheap wickets at the end. But she did then actually go and score 49 runs, batting about 8 or something. So, potential all-rounder quality. But I'm not convinced she plays every game for Durham in the T20 Blast, is why she's not set to be in my 11. And then I've also scribbled some other names. Is Phoebe Turner doing well? Sophie Morris, left arm, I think she's left arm spinner. Lancashire had a game or 2 last year. Just one of those. I just liked her. Just thought she looked good. And then I have written, is it Rebecca Odgers at Somerset in women's competition? I'm not sure. I think so. When I was looking at the Division 1 teams, there were 1 or 2 teams. I think there's more, because is it 9 teams now? Yorkshire involved. So she's maybe in the equation. So yeah, team is, depending on who's listed as a batter or all-rounder here, possibly, and then fixtures obviously, but Schofield, Boutchier, Kelly, Catherine Bryce, who will be captain, maybe Sophia Smale, vice-captain, Charlie Knott, Darcy Carter, Freeborn, vice captain. I think sometimes I've had Sarah Bryce, but maybe I didn't have Kelly. But I've got Ballinger as well. All play for Blaze, obviously. Katie Levick, Grace Ballinger, Katie Kopak, and then I'm looking at people like Datani, Grace Thompson, Cordelia Griffiths, Sophie Morris in the equation. So those are my thoughts on my T20 Blast provisional squads. Obviously, I had a slightly underwhelming start to the county championship. My career ranking is tanking, so I'm hoping I'm just hoping I fight back here. I can somehow get back into my career ranking top 100. And obviously, it's great contrast to T20 Blast because county championship, slow burner, and it's been a real slow burner for me, that's for sure. And the county championship, it's just one ball and suddenly your strike rate, your economy rate, and you're up and down loads of points, aren't you? Maybe I can get 3,000 points 1 week, break my personal record, which is one thing I would like to see on the app. Website did used to show us our top 3 points totals. That's not there anymore. Don't know if that's saved in the background. I was going to say something else. Just hopefully there's games every day, watch and following. Anyway, let me know who's in your thoughts for your T20 Blast squads. Who's the first name on your team sheet? Who are you going to captain? Are you going to be playing the men's and women's games? I'm now going to I tried to do this video without a massive amount of editing, but I'm going to try and edit it whilst watching some cricket because there's nobody else in the house. Thank you very much for watching. How's that?